Hello, you're listening to Send in the Experts with Georgina Durrant. This podcast is all about teaching and supporting children and young people with special educational needs and disabilities, SEND. My name is Georgina Durrant. I'm the host of this podcast brought to you by Twinkl SEND. As a former teacher in Senko myself, I wanted to create a platform to share some of the amazing things that my guests are doing to support learners with SEND. So whether you're listening on your commute, tuning in whilst walking your dog, or curled up on the sofa with a nice cup of coffee, thank you so much for joining us. In this episode, I am delighted to be joined by the inspirational Musharaf Asghar, or Mushy. Mushy captured the hearts of the nation in 2013 when, as a schoolboy, he appeared on our screens in the award-winning Channel 4 series Educating Yorkshire. Mushy joined the series to raise awareness of stammering, and he sprang to our screens at the age of 16, and he's now 25, and he is a keynote speaker, journalist and sports writer. Hi, lovely to meet you.
Hi, wow, it sounds as if I've achieved a lot.
Yes.
Wow, you make it sound so amazing.
Oh, well, you have, absolutely. When I've been doing my research, Mushy, you've done loads and you're only 25. It's incredible.
I really appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. So
Thank you.
people listening may be aware that you were on Educating Yorkshire, or should I say the star of Educating Yorkshire. But for those who haven't watched it, Educating Yorkshire was a documentary that follows the sort of trials and tribulations of a secondary school called Thornhill Community Academy in Dewsbury in Yorkshire. I think practically the whole nation, me included, was brought to tears, Mushy, when you were preparing for your speaking element of your English GCSE and you were finding it difficult because of your stammer. Then your amazing teacher, Mr. Burton, used some tactics that I think he'd found from the King's Speech, that film. And yeah, you were able to give that amazing speech in front of your entire school during an assembly as well. I watched it again the other day as part of my research, and I was really moved again just watching it. It's absolutely incredible. It's a real big part of TV history almost, isn't it? Like it was a huge moment. What was it like? What was it like being on Educating Yorkshire?
Well, at first I thought I'd be like a Hollywood star at the end, but of course that never happened. I'm just joking. But yeah, at first I just had no clue. I absolutely had no clue as to how it would sort of turn out, how people would view me on the TV show, and I knew deep down in me that I just really wanted to escape that sort of shadow that people with a stammer can't do or achieve anything. And I thought, what's better than actually being on a TV show? So yeah, it was a crazy experience taking part and just seeing how this journey that I've been on was captured on TV, which I'm extremely fortunate for, having the support that I did have in school. It was just something, even after all these years, I can't really explain how fortunate I was to actually have it.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. It's lovely that you look back on it and it was a really positive experience and it really helped you. What was it like? So you must have been did people recognise you in the street when you were a kid then? Did you feel quite well known from it? Or was it not the Hollywood dream you were quite imagining?
No, it was nice. I'd say it was a bit of a throw in the deeps, if I'm completely honest. It's quite hard trying to balance basically trying to balance your GCSEs and trying to film a TV show, and it took so many hours, unpaid hours, if I do say so. So it did just take a very long time filming, but it's an amazing feeling being known for something which helps people out there. And I'm so fortunate that I've used it in a means to educate people in what stammering is. No pun intended, of course. But yeah, it's an amazing feeling. And I think being a kid and being sort of in the sort of limelight of it all, it was a bit of a challenge just knowing how to sort of cope with it all. It's not something that I was taught. There's no sort of class that teaches you how to cope with, like, I don't know, TV fame or whatever you really want to call it. So it was quite hard, but also very rewarding, being known that I was trying to increase the awareness of what a stammer truly is.
Yeah, that's amazing, especially, as a teenager, to be thinking at the time that you're helping other people and raising awareness of something. It's quite a big thing. Well done. How did they choose your school then? How does the actual process? Do we get any some vaccine sort of gossip? How does it work? Did you?
Of course. I was just in my assembly, and there was these like posh London producers who had turned up at the school.
Oh, wow.
And I'm from Yorkshire. I've never really heard anyone posh here. So that was a massive thing. It was like hearing aliens. So so we had these producers on this production team that were just explaining that how we've got this documentary idea. Yeah. We're not really sure as of yet if it is confirmed at your school, but you are Thornhill High School, as it was previously called, was one of the schools that was planning, sort of at the planning sort of stage of being on the show. And at first we were sort of told every week that there were like 200 schools first, and then they had been shortlisted to like 50 schools, and then on the last assembly, just before I think it was the Easter break, we got told that we were basically chosen at that moment in time. But I had no clue that I was on the show at the time. I was told, so we were just told it's going to be Thornhill. And I think everyone was sort of cheering, "Hey, we'll be on TV," but no one really knew, and no one's getting paid as well. So I think that was quite an interesting experience. But yeah, it's sort of how it sort of like filmed was there were over 250 cameras that were rigged in the whole school. Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah, like in hallways, in corridors, hallways, outside of the school, sort of in the playground, in classrooms, pretty much everywhere apart from the toilets, which I'm so grateful for. So it was basically rigged up, and we were told that only 3 cameras would be turned on at a time, but we weren't told which ones were sort of turned on.
No way.
And then, out of nowhere, I was just this sort of shy kid trying to actually talk in class, like nothing else, just trying to actually talk, having a sort of net of friends who were there trying to help me. Of course, facing a lot of bullying as well, but I think they sort of saw that I was trying. I wasn't trying the hardest, if I'm completely honest, but I was trying, and it was trying to talk, not trying to get my GCSEs at that moment in time. And then I just got approached and asked that, "Hi, we'd love to have you on the show." And I had nothing to actually say. And that was pretty much how I felt at first, knowing that I couldn't really talk. And then it sort of dwelled on me, and I just thought, well, okay, let's just see where it goes. So I came home on the same sort of evening. I had this sort of like A4 piece of paper which had like the terms and conditions. Of course, no one really reads those, so I just passed it on to my parents and said, like, look, this is what I've been told. So if you want, we can give it a go. And I think they were also quite sort of nervous, not really knowing what would sort of happen. So it was a very sort of interesting sort of concept, trying to explain at home that this TV show was being filmed at the school and I was chosen. Just having to explain that was sort of a hurdle itself.
Yeah, I can imagine. Were your parents, and were you a little bit nervous that it might not be shown in the best light, like that you could get some backlash from it, from like other people not being very kind about it?
Yes, of course. I feel like a couple of people have been on Educating Yorkshire and they've not really been shown in the best way. I'm just really fortunate that the directors had a bit of sympathy and were able to show me in a sort of a limelight that really showed that I was really trying. And I think I was completely honest with not trying to get my face on TV, but just trying to find a way, or finding a sort of a map out of school with the best grades, and trying to actually talk. And that was something, it was just trying to talk which really hit me pretty much every day in school. So, and I think my parents also thought that with the addition of having a camera, that could go either way.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That makes complete sense. Wow, what an experience. And so that moment, so Mr. Burton suggests that you try those headphones on. I bet you get asked this a million times, but whilst you were doing your speech and you put these headphones on, did you think it was going to work? Had you seen the King's speech? Did you think that you'd put these on and you'd be able to suddenly be able to do the speech? Or were you thinking, no, this isn't going to work. This is just one of these ideas that a teacher comes up with that, yeah, we'll try it. Not going to work.
Honestly, I'm not lying at all. I promise you, I'm not. I had no clue that it would work. I thought, surely it can't. I've worn earphones many times in the past, but I've never tried to talk whilst I'm listening to anything.
Mm-hmm.
So when he asked me to wear those earphones and he put on the music, I think you can see the expression on my face. I take a deep breath once I've talked or once I've read this poem, and I just think, like, I'm sort of amazed as to how it's worked. And I look at him and he looks at me, and I think that moment in time, it just made me realize that this teacher would give everything he had in order for me to talk. And I always say this, like, I'm really fortunate to also be a keynote speaker where I go into schools and I talk about this journey in depth. But I think it's just like seeing that he was a teacher, not trying to only make me pass those GCSEs, those crucial GCSEs I needed, but knowing that he was that speech therapist who was trying to help me find a way out, or finding a voice, if that is.
Yeah.
So just, I can't really sum up into words how crazy it was, just listening and just talking and just thinking, how on earth has this worked? Like,
your face, when I was watching it, you can actually see, I think the teenagers' faces tell it all as well, don't they? But you can actually see it on your face. It's like this, you're speaking, but you're like, wait a minute, how is this happening? How am I able to do this? And yeah, Mr. Burton's looking at you, looking the same. And it's an amazing, really, really amazing to watch. And it must be wonderful that it's captured there for you. Like that moment, that massive moment in your life, not just in television history, but in your life, is actually captured there for you to have a look. You can always look back on, can't you? It's lovely. Absolutely brilliant.
It's an amazing feeling. I think just one thing, like, I just say that one thing that is, it wasn't just wearing headphones. There were a series of sort of techniques which I used in order to actually build the confidence to actually wear those headphones. And I think that wasn't really shown on the show.
No.
But I try and, as amazing as it was being on Educating Yorkshire, wearing those headphones was, I think, sort of that last step that I needed. But I tried so many different methods, so many like different trials, and one in particular was, I'm not really sure who told me at the time. I think it was my science teacher, and he was just talking about this contract that he had with his mobile phone, and then he just explained that the call center couldn't really turn the phone off on him. So I thought, okay, perfect. That's a perfect opportunity where I can just call. Ask as many questions as I want. And I was just talking about like iPhone like 3 at the time. I was talking about text and minutes and all sorts. And then as soon as they would ask me for card details, that was the moment I would turn it off and I would restart the cycle of speaking again. So I used so many different methods just to sort of lead up onto that moment of wearing those headphones.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and such a shame that we weren't able to see them, because it did look like he'd just come out of nowhere with that brilliant technique, and then it just tried it and it worked. But yeah, it's interesting and good, I think, for our listeners to hear that there were lots of things that you tried, because there will be teachers and Senkos listening who will have children in their classes perhaps with a stammer, and it's not just about one magic thing, is it? It's got lots of different techniques that you can try, and different things work for different people. And I suppose not to be disillusioned if they try the technique that worked for you and it both work for them.
Yeah, of course. I've seen in the past that a lot of teachers have messaged me, a lot of students have, and asked, well, I've tried wearing the headphones and it's not helped.
Yeah.
Like, why is it work? Why can it work for you, and why is it not working for me? So I think the best thing that I say is, I think stammering it's very different. I think it's like, it's sort of not the best word to use, but I think it's sort of tailored for each and every person. So it works in its own mysterious way. And you just have to find out what works for you. I feel like, even though as amazing as it is wearing headphones and talking, you can't really use it. It's not a practical sort of method. So I needed to use different methods to actually talk. So I have a massive list of like breathing methods that I use, and I give to a lot of students, and they see that it's so much more practical. It's something that they can try and practice on. So it's not just about wearing headphones.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, because I suppose at the moment, obviously people can't see us, but at the moment Mushy's talking to me with headphones on, so you can't actually be listening to music whilst we're on the recording, because everyone will be able to hear the music you're listening to. So at the moment, what strategies are you using today? Are you using breathing techniques? Is that what you do?
Yeah, so I went on quite a few courses that was mainly about just controlling this stammer that I had. So I use a lot of breathing methods. So I take a lot of pauses, and if I feel like I'm just about to hit a block, I sort of don't try and force it out. A lot of people try and like twitching and start pushing and start thumping their hand on their legs, which is quite painful as well. So I think there's a lot of methods that people try just to actually talk, and it just makes me think how important talking actually is in itself. That people try anything and everything, but I use a variety of different methods to help me talk, and I think those methods just make me sound so much more coherent. Rather than trying to push through, and even being in this sort of setting of wearing headphones and talking, knowing that there's no video element, even though there is one right now, but knowing that audio is the only thing that is needed in this sort of place and time, I think that sort of adds that pressure. But if you dwell on it too much, and you start thinking, oh my God, I can't talk and I can't really get these words out, I'm scared, I'm so nervous, then you start feeling those emotions. And I think if you are able to control those, and it's hard, I can't lie and say, well, no, I'm perfect, I can speak fluently and I'm this and I'm that. No, of course not. I'm not. I proudly admit I'm not a fluent speaker. I probably never will be, but I will try, and I will try and push through, just trying to basically show that even though I'm not a fluent speaker, I've gone on to achieve certain things that I never thought I could ever achieve, and that was based through the support and having a teacher who wasn't very emotional. And I think if you get that mixed up, if you're a very quite emotional in that setting, then those emotions sort of take over, and you try so much harder, but then you don't really try as hard, I feel, if you just take it as it comes. If that makes any
No, it makes complete sense. It's inspirational. It really is. I know I said it at the start, and I think that word gets thrown around quite a lot, but it really is. And it's lovely to hear that you've got a toolbox, if you like, of different techniques that you use, and like dipping in out and try different ones, because I think, like you say, people listening will, if they've tried putting the headphones on and it's not worked, it can, I imagine, a bit disillusioning for them. So good to know that there's different things they can try, and different things, I suppose, that work on different days perhaps, or at different times. Really useful. So could you explain what a stammer actually is then, just in case somebody's got this far on the podcast and they don't actually know what we're talking about?
Of course. So I believe that a stammer, to my sort of knowledge, is a block within your throat or within your mouth, which doesn't allow you to actually speak as fluently compared to others. So it's sort of like a mental block, a physical block. It's I can express it as a block only. I think that's my sort of interpretation of what a stammer truly is. It's sort of a block that you can't really pass. And of course, people try and push through, as I've like mentioned, but it just really causes sort of a really mental problem where you feel days or weeks of anxiety, feeling as if I can't really take part in anything. And I think a lot of students must have felt that. But it's not only with students. I feel it's happened with a lot of adults as well, who
Yeah.
also feel that sort of anxiety and that sort of barrier in trying to actually talk. So it is a feeling that really makes you feel like you can't do anything, even though you have like a mouth of voice box and all these different components that allow you to actually talk. You just feel as if you can't talk, and the best way that I've been able to explain it is, it's like a person who wears glasses. He or she can take those glasses off, but they can't really see what's in front of them at times. Of course, depending on what sort of impairment they have.
Yeah.
But it's mainly that if a person who can't see long distance, he needs glasses. He still has those eyes. He or she has those components, but he or she can't see.
Yeah.
So it's the exact same way. I'm not trying to force these words, or I'm not trying to be a fluent speaker, even though I feel that I can. I can't, and that's something I have to really take on board. So I think that's what a stammer truly is. It's something that mentally sort of blocks you and physically blocks you in order to actually talk.
Yeah, that's a brilliant explanation. Absolutely brilliant. So
Thank you.
when did your stammer begin? Can I ask you that? Like, I don't think from what I've researched, I like to research my guests beforehand, and from what I've read anyway, it says that you didn't have a stammer as a young child, but then you got
Yeah.
it sort of when you were a kid. Is that right?
Yeah, of course. So I like to explain this quite early on in the talks I do.
Yeah.
So I actually suffered from an asthma attack quite early on
Oh, wow.
as a kid. I do remember being in like primary school and just having this sort of block where I couldn't breathe,
Oh,
and
God.
I just basically fell to the floor and woke up in the hospital bed, and I had like all these tubes and all sorts of things on me, and I just thought, what is happening? And I woke up trying to actually talk, and I remember the nurse asking if I wanted anything to eat, and I tried to say toast, and I couldn't say toast, and I just kept hitting this block of teeth, and she kept on looking over and saying, "Pardon me, like what are you wanting?" And I sort of like couldn't explain it, that
Yeah.
I can't say toast. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
I just can't say it. And then I went home, and my parents could see. Like at first, we all thought. Well, I was told that it's probably the medication that I was on. It's probably that's why it's in your system. So maybe it's one of the side effects. And I thought, okay, yeah, should be okay. But days went on by, weeks, and it just got worse.
God.
And then I think with stammering as well, quite early on, when I was 5 or 6 at the time, I thought it was some sort of like disease or some type of treatment that I could take which would cure it. I thought it was probably a viral infection or
Yeah.
whatever it is as a kid.
Yeah, because you would be. Yeah, that makes sense. Everything you get when you're a kid, it's always like bugs, isn't it? If you pick up from
Yeah,
school, you would
so
just presume it'd be the same.
I thought it's just something I've picked up at school,
Yeah.
and I'd probably just have some type of medication. And I think the hardest thing for me was going into that doctor's surgery and actually hearing the doctor explain to my mum that Musharaf would never be able to actually speak fluently ever again. Well, he won't speak fluently ever. And I think hearing those words quite early on
Oh
made
my
me think.
goodness.
I just thought, well, he's just torn me into pieces here. I'm literally torn.
Yeah.
I've just been I've just been told by a professional that I won't ever be able to actually speak fluently ever. And I think I heard those words and I just had two options. Either I believed what he said, and I think that had a massive impact quite early on. I tried to learn sign language. I
Brilliant.
didn't really get far, but I hated it. I thought, why am I trying to learn something when I know I can talk? Like I
Yeah.
know I can talk. I don't need this. So I just, of course, certain days I would think, actually, I don't have no hope in this. I don't have a choice. And then certain days I'd be quite motivated and think, well, actually, I do. So it was sort of like that ongoing battle that I sort of faced, trying to actually find a cure, but really it wasn't curing anything. It was just accepting who I was. And I feel like the moment I accepted who I truly was, it just sort of took off that weight that I had on me.
Oh goodness, is that so? Asthma attacks, is that a common? Do you know? Is that a common cause of stammers? Do you know? Or
I'm not really sure if I'm completely
no?
honest. I just know from my sort of experience.
Yeah.
I know people that have had strokes in the past
Right.
who have resulted in stammering after. So it could be maybe some sort of damage that happens mentally
Yeah.
that causes something to happen, and then of course then stammering occurs. But I'm not really sure,
No,
if I'm
that's
honest.
fine. Gosh, that like you say, hearing those words by the doctor at such a young age, that must have been really, really difficult and challenging, and difficult for your parents as well. I imagine hearing that and their worries for you, and yeah, they must be ever so proud of what you've achieved and where
No,
you've
it's not.
come.
Like honestly, I'm not saying this because I feel like I have to. I truly believe that teachers, honestly, they can change a young person's life completely. They can really they mold individuals into anything they want. And I think if they have the attitude to make their children or make the students achieve anything, and it's not only I feel the students, I think the colleagues and the sort of
Yeah,
environment that we create, it's like planting a seed and just sort of watering it and giving it this giving it that sort of sunlight. It's the exact same way. I feel like teachers are in this sort of metaphor is the sort of water,
yeah,
and the sun that radiates are those teachers, are the heads, those head teachers, and those teachers that support students.
yeah,
So we need that as the seed that we are. We need that help
yeah.
and we need that growth. And the only way we'll grow is by having the environment and having the people to help us push and achieve those grades or achieve those goals in
Yeah.
life.
And I suppose it's not just the grades, is it for you? I imagine the biggest impact was that your teacher was able to give you that voice and help you with that more than any of the GCSEs and that side of things.
Yeah,
A
it's
bigger impact is that.
I never went into school thinking that my teacher would find me a way to talk.
Yeah.
I never ever thought that, and I don't think any kid in my sort of shoes would have ever thought that. I always thought school education was GCSEs, college, uni,
Yeah.
or work, and that's it. Like all these different battles that we face aren't really counted. It's not something that you ask a teacher for help with in respect to. So I knew quite early on that stammering was something I needed help with.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, why not ask? Like, what is the harm?
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I asked. It was more than education. I feel at that moment in time, it was more than anything I've ever achieved. And even this using this voice and having the confidence of talking, it all stems down to having this support that I did, having that Mr. Burton pushing me and nudging me, and all those teachers, Mrs. Marsden, I could count all the teachers who helped me, who pushed me, who tested me, who were harsh with me, who made me, who just sort of pressured me and just told me that, look, you can. Even on the days if they had no clue, even if they thought that there's a possibility that it might not work out for Musharaf, but they made me believe that it was okay. They made me believe that I was more than what I thought I was capable of. And I think that is the sort of setting. And I think that is what a teacher truly is. It's not just about those grades. It's about making kids realize that education isn't just about grades. It's about leadership skills. It's about confidence skills. It's about knowing how to interact with people
Yeah.
within school and outside of school. I think that is what a teacher truly is.
Oh, teachers are going to love listening to this, Mushy. You're like a teacher's biggest fan, aren't you?
Yeah, no, I really am. Like honestly, I really am. I really, really am. I feel like if you're in connection with any student, if you're teaching anyone, whether it's in the college setting, in the high school, in secondary school, if you're in a position in life where you have an impact on a child, you can change that young person's life. Honestly, I can't really explain it anymore.
You're going to
Like
make people feel so lovely listening to this. I know as a teacher myself, like I was a teacher for a while, and like it's, you know, day in, day out, and there's a lot of pressure, for external pressure as well, and it's tough going. And I think to hear, there'll be a lot of teachers listen to this and hearing someone saying, you know, thank you, and like all the things that they can actually do to help children and young people and make their lives better. I think you're going to make people feel really, really warm inside and nice. So thank you.
No, like honestly, I think my sort of journey shows it. It really, like I can't. I'm not trying to sit here and give anything false out here. I'm really trying to show that, look, this is what a teacher did. Not, it doesn't mean that these moments only happen in that school.
Yeah.
These moments happen across every single school, any sort of setting, whether it's in the workplace, outside of education. These things happen. These light bulb moments happen, and you can create those moments. It's you. It's only you.
Yeah.
We as students are just led on this long path, but you guys are the leaders. And I think we need them. We really, really need those leaders, and those leaders are teachers.
Yeah. That's lovely. Really, really lovely. And it makes people feel so so good about themselves. It's so true. Like, yes, yours was seen, yours is a good story and it was seen on TV, but you're right. There will be lots of maybe smaller moments happening all the time in classrooms right now that are having an impact on children's lives forever.
Of course,
and there'll be
100%.
children, there's children that, or adults now, that look back and will think of those defining moments that a teacher might not even remember, or words they've said that's planted that seed that's helped them think, yeah, I can do this, or I'm gonna do great things with it. It's wonderful. So I was going to talk to you about school in general with a stammer. Were your classmates sort of inclusive then? You said you had a good group of friends that sort of sheltered you a little bit, but were people kind to you?
Yeah, I'd say at first, in year 7, year 8, I faced a lot of bullying. And I think that was based on the fact that no one really knew what a stammer was.
Right.
I had no clue as to what a stammer truly was as well. And I think kids, like, apart from like my haircut at the time, I think I seemed okay. but every time I tried to actually talk, there was that block that I hit, and kids just had no idea as to how challenging it was. And I think I was trying to express, even on the occasions I tried to actually express that, I was finding it hard. I couldn't. I just couldn't get those words out. I couldn't seek help.
Yeah.
And I just thought, like, what is actually going on? Like, I can't even try and seek help. I can't do anything at this moment in time. I'm just getting bullied for something that I cannot control at all.
Yeah.
Fair enough, if it's a haircut, I can change, but I can't change something that I can't really control. So I think it was quite tough, and I think that my friends were there to push me and tell me that it's okay, it's fine, you can do whatever it is. And I think labeling it as a stammer itself, or labeling it as an issue, was something that my friends and teachers didn't really say in front of me, even though it probably was a massive issue. But I think them not labeling it or making it seem that it was greater than it truly was really helped me to also think that it was okay, it's something that I can overcome.
Yeah, brilliant. Sort of not making a big deal of it and sort of just getting on with it and trying to help you in the ways that they could as well. So what did you find the most difficult at school then? What would you say was the hardest thing you were doing at school?
I think algebra was the hardest thing.
That's the same for everyone, I think.
I just really did not understand that. But I think for me, quite early on, it was trying to see where I would fit in.
Yeah.
Trying to see where I would fit in this massive school coming into school in year 7, wearing this extremely large jumper that was probably passed down from siblings. Just trying to understand where I would fit, like in a school with people who are fluent speakers, and then everyone that I came across was a fluent speaker, apart from maybe 2-3 individuals who were like older, or one guy who was in the same sort of year as me. But I think we and I sort of felt that we had no sort of place here. And I felt like if everyone's speaking fluently, if there's if all of my teachers, my science, English, maths, PE, like everyone's a fluent speaker. Every classmate I have is a fluent speaker. Like, where do I fit in? Like, I have no room here, and I was trying to create a space or create an environment where people would see beyond this stammer that I had. And I think that was the hardest bit. The hardest bit was trying to open up and having those very difficult broken sentence conversations where I would try to talk and people would find out he can't even speak. I was pushed aside. And I think that sort of had an impact on my sort of quite early on going into like classroom, being in the classroom. I'll try answer a question, and even though I felt I knew what the answer was, I was sort of told no, that it's okay. And I think it's not really the fault of the teachers as well. It's sort of that moment where you can't really sort of blame anyone, but sort of can but can't as well at the same time. So it was quite hard. So certain questions that I didn't know the answer to, I would try and ask, but I would get nervous and think, well, I'm gonna ask in front of everyone, and they're gonna laugh at me. So is it better that I just get the answer wrong and not ask? And that was the biggest. That was the biggest thing that hit me as a kid, was knowing that I didn't know the answer but not asking. And I think that really had an impact, because I sort of wasted a lot of years just not getting the best grade in school in those early on years. And even in my GCSEs, I feel like I could have got so much more, got the grades that I thought I could have, if only I had taken that step early on. If I had only taken that step and said, well, no, I don't know what the answer is, but I'm willing to ask. I'll put my hand up and ask. If I sit here and get the answer wrong, then that won't help me either way.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Naively, I just thought that the difficulties would be like answering questions, but I'd forgotten that actually you need it to ask questions, don't you, to be able to get better at the subjects that you're doing. I genuinely, and I apologise that I hadn't thought of that, but I hadn't.
No.
But I imagine that's the case for a lot of teachers who might not have experience with somebody who got a stammer in their class, and then
of course
then they're thinking, okay, well, speaking, doing the oral GCSE exam is an obvious one that would have been tricky, but not realising that you're not just being shy by not putting your hand up, but it's actually there's a barrier there, and there's a reason you're not putting your hand up.
And I think it's not even with people that have a stammer. There's a lot of kids that, with COVID happening, a lot of students will be facing a lot of adversity, but they're too shy or too scared to actually ask and get that answer. And I think I hope teachers don't really overlook that and say, oh, he's probably just he or she or they are just probably feeling a bit down, and it should be okay. But then that sort of accumulates, and I think it gets worse and worse. And I think as a kid, I used to think, if my teacher isn't caring as much, if the answer is wrong, then maybe the right answer isn't as amazing as it is. Maybe getting the wrong answer is okay. And I think that is such a tricky thing that teachers need to keep an eye out on every sort of moment in school, just knowing that what other barriers is that child facing? How can I get that child to open up and express how they're feeling? Of course, there's a lot of support that teachers get, and I think there's a lot of obviously background of the child, this sort of environment at home. But I think day to day sort of things, I think a teacher knows more, and a teacher can sort of figure out what those things are,
Yeah.
and then sort of correct those mistakes. But if you leave a child and think, well, he or she has a stammer, or he or she has some sort of mental disorder, or whatever it is, physical, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But as a teacher, if I say he's not asking, so he or she is okay. If they try and answer, they don't know what the answer is. It's probably a sort of a bad day, but it really could be something so much more.
Yeah.
So you really need to be on point in that sort of element, in knowing that how important it truly is. And I think with COVID happening, that awareness needs to actually be raised so much more. Because of course I was in a classroom with students who were fluent, who were answering questions, who were so confident, who could just say anything whenever, could act a certain way, could say anything. They were treated, not really treated, but they were sort of seen as these are the A students, like these are the guys or the people who will go on and achieve anything. Me, I don't really know. I don't know what I'll achieve. I don't think I'll achieve anything. And I think we really need to break that. Like that is something we have to actually break.
Yeah.
And I just feel like a lot of kids need that sort of help. And I know, of course, it's so hard. Teachers get bashed every single day with all sorts. But I really think that teachers can, even if they give that little bit more, they really can change a person's life. And I think that little bit more happened with me.
Yeah.
That little bit more, okay, we'll listen to what he says. Okay, we'll push him a bit more, just slowly pushing, and then it just sort of exploded, and I was able to reach those goals. But that all stems down to, of course, I know that I put all the time and the effort in, but how did I reach that? How I couldn't have just woken up one day and felt like I'm a confident person now. No, it was a series of events which took place.
Yeah, and it's that, like you say, teachers just going above and beyond, just even if it's ever so slightly, but incrementally going above and beyond has that impact, doesn't it? Because it is, if you've got children in a class and you've got 30 in your class and there's some of them perhaps misbehaving, and you've got ones that have always got the hand up, those ones, the children or the young people who are sat there who aren't always asking questions but are being quiet, they can get easily missed, can't they? And like, it's so important not to miss them and to look into the reasons why they might not be putting their hand up, or do they understand what's going on? Have they got any questions? Can we help support them in any other ways? I think that's really, really important.
It's so true. I think just one little thing that I just thought I'd say is there was an incident with Mr. Byrne. I don't think he'll even remember this ever happening.
Yeah.
But it was, at the time, I hope he does. I've never really mentioned this ever, but I hope
exclusive to my podcast.
It's exclusive. So I've mentioned it in talks in the past, but no, I think it just really shows the impact a teacher has. But there was this incident in school, year 8. I remember it like it just happened yesterday. I had an incident where a kid just was bullying me completely, like from like 9 till about 12. So like half of the school day I was just getting bullied. And then I went to Mr. Burton, and he wasn't part of, he wasn't a lead that was in charge of bullying or anything like that. But I just thought, like, I need to ask for help. But it was also his sort of break, that he was having his own break. He was marking papers, and I was crying at the time, and I went straight into, I basically ran up these stairs, and I was just about to actually go into his classroom, and I opened the door, and he was just sat there with a massive pile of books, and he was walking away. And it was a very unusual thing that I saw, and it was just Mr. Burton with his tie out of place, his top button was undone, his sleeves were rolled up, he had his hand on his head, he was walking away, and he had his pregnant wife on the phone at the time with the first daughter, Olivia.
Wow.
And I think I saw at that moment in time that teachers are humans as
Yeah.
well. And I think that was something that I never ever thought I would ever see, or I never really took into account that teachers are also humans. And I just hear all I can hear him explaining how it's been a long day and all this and things that I never thought I would ever hear a teacher say. And immediately I just walked in, like after just hearing him just expressing, and I think it was because I just really wanted to overcome this podium incident that I was facing. So I opened the door and I went straight in, and immediately he turned his pregnant wife at the time. He turned the call off. He
Wow.
rolled his sleeves back down. He sorted his tie, and he said, "How is everything? Like, what's going on?"
Wow.
And I think that moment,
Yeah.
that sort of moment that I had, made me think that it's not about like this whole thing that we've talked about reaching those grades and getting those grades, but being a human and being treated in a way where I could ask Mr. Burton anything,
Yeah.
and he just gave me that little bit of thing where he sort of gave me that hope that I could turn and ask for any sort of help, and immediately we went downstairs and I pointed out as to who it was, and it was resolved in that moment in time.
Amazing.
But I only knew that after leaving school how that crucial moment that I had just made me think how important teachers are. That sort of little moment that it must have been huge for like him or for anyone else, but I just saw it at the time as such a small thing. But
Yeah.
now, after all these years, I see how important it was. I see how amazing it was that he just gave that little bit more, and he didn't have to at the time. He
No.
could have just told me, "Look, I got look. It's break time. Just wait downstairs. I'll see you in period 4 or 5, and we'll talk about it after class." But no, it was just immediate response, immediate action after.
And I suppose seeing him like prioritize you over his family, seeing him prioritize you over his wife, and but you know, I mean, that's massive for kids, isn't it? Because you
Yeah.
feel important. He made you feel like that. He was clearly on a break. He was clearly having some time to himself, and then he just thought, you know what, no. Mushy's more important in this instant, and that must make you feel like you can come to them. You're not arrived at that door and he's in his he's all done up in his shirt and he's looking really smart and he's too busy and tells you to go away. But yeah, imagine what happened if he'd have been the opposite. The
of
impact
course,
that would have happened.
And I think that's how crucial it is working in the environment of teaching. These little moments happen where that could really change a child's perspective of school.
Yeah.
And I think those as scary as it is, teachers are in that field where they are literally whatever they do, whatever they say, how they act amongst each other, amongst students, they really have an impact. They really can change a person's view. Whatever it is, I can't really explain anymore, but they really have that impact. And I think that made me feel, as you said, it made me feel important at the time. And I sort of knew after that moment, growing up, I knew that I can't ever face adversity that I can't overcome now.
Yeah.
Like if a person has that much faith in me, if that one has so much has that much patience and is there to support me through anything, I really can't give up on that person after everything they've tried and after everything they've given me, all the time, all the hours, even if it was like half an hour that incident actually took. I can't let that person down. I can't let these people down. And I think that sort of gave me that determination to actually find this voice I now have.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So my colleague, Helen Collins, who writes... She wrote an article for Twinkl about you, didn't she, a little while ago? And I think in it you said, and I'll quote you, I've got it written down, you said, saying it's a problem that needs treatment, people who stammer will see it as a bigger problem. Just give them time to talk. So this is talking about your views about treatment for stammers, and we touched on it a little bit. What are your views on treatment?
I really believe that I think treatment, like I think the NHS offers speech and language therapy, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
It's an amazing service which I used quite early on as a kid, and it really helped me to be in an environment of others that had the same issue as me, and I think that was nice. But even I sort of call it an issue. You see, I'm so used to calling it an issue, calling it a problem. I think quite early on, it's sort of just hearing it as, oh, he's got a speaking problem, or he's got a stammering problem, or he can't talk fluently. That's because he's got some type of problem. Referring to it as a problem is just going to make a person think more and more of it and think of it as a problem. But if you don't treat it as something, it's now, of course, I think we all know, as a stammerer, I think we all know the challenges that we face. But if we're sort of drilled in every single day a problem, this, that, or the other, then how on earth are you going to overcome that? It's just so hard to overcome that. And I think that was something, even to this day, in the talks that I'm really fortunate enough to actually give, I talk about a speaking problem, and I always say, no, it's not a problem. it's a way of how I express myself. It's not normal. It might not be normal, but it's okay though. I don't mind that. But I think if we label it as a problem, it just increases more of a problem in our own sort of mind.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whether it's stammering, whether it's any visual impairment, hearing impairment, whatever it is, I think if we treat it as a problem, then we'll slowly believe it is. And I think I sort of, at times, I'll be completely honest, at times I do also see it as a problem. I just think, like, it is a problem then. If everyone sees it as a problem, then what else is it?
Yeah.
It has to actually be a problem. So it's kind of hard, but I think it's so important that teachers don't, and I think people don't label it as a problem. If you treat it as a problem, then that child will also see it as one as well.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. I was looking into stammering, and it was I came across this no diversity disfluency campaign.
Without disfluency,
Can you explain what that is then?
Yeah, so that is a campaign which it's just trying to get people that have a stammer on TV, on the radio, in sort of mainly in the media field, in media outlets. And I think it's so important, and it's such a great initiative. It was part of Stammering Awareness Day last year, and it was a massive thing. And I think it's so important having representatives of stammering, of people that are fluent speakers in the media. I'm not really sure if there are any other presenters out there, if there are any entertainers, anyone out there who does have a stammer, apart from people like celebrities who have opened, so people like Ed Sheeran who have opened up about having a stammer. But I think as a kid you hear that and it's like, wow, that's crazy. Like, he's just opened up about having a stammer. Like, what on earth? Like, where did that come from? Or stars like Stormzy who have expressed that they also had a stammer as a child. Now, but I think we need more of that. We really need more of that. The same with any other type of adversity people are facing. I think we need more of that on TV or on the radio. I think that's what the campaign is mainly focused on. It's about trying to get people that aren't fluent in mainstream media. And as a kid, I think it was like in year 10, year 11, where I'm not sure if you heard, but someone called Gareth Gates who came on Pop Idol. Yeah, an old show called Pop Idol.
Oh, I used to love Pop Idol.
So yeah, he was of course on the show, and he expressed how he couldn't speak. He couldn't speak fluently.
And then he could sing beautifully, but when he tried to speak, he struggled. Yeah,
and that was it. I think I saw that. And I thought, well, maybe I'm not going to go into the singing career. Yeah, but it was nice though. It was really nice having that someone that, okay, of course I had this support from Mr. Burton, but as harsh as it is, he didn't know how it felt
No.
to have one. And I think other people didn't really know, but this support I had, which was of course amazing, but I didn't have someone that I could really look up to and say, well, he or she has a stammer, or they have a stammer, but they've gone on to achieve whatever there is despite having a stammer, so I can as well.
Yeah.
I think I never really had that quite early on, and I think a lot of kids don't. But I'm hoping they sort of have that now.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that not only me, but I'm hoping they'll look at me in a
definitely, yeah,
in sort of a decent way. But I think there's a lot of people out there who are now creating the awareness of what a stammer is, and I think we need that. We need that a lot more. I think a lot of kids out there need that help, need that push, not only from their teachers or their educators, but people that they can look up to and say he or she or they have gone on to achieve whatever they want.
Yeah, because when you said when you were in year 7 and you started secondary school and you didn't know where your place was, I suppose if you'd have seen people on TV who had a stammer, you'd have been able to see, okay, well, I do have a place in the world. There is something for me out there, like what they've been able to achieve, and that hopefully what you're doing will help. You'll be a role model to lots of people, I imagine, who are seeing this and thinking, actually, or listening to this and thinking, actually, it's okay and I'll be fine. It's just, of course, confidence, isn't it?
It really is, and I think that was one of the main reasons why I got into journalism. I think that was something that I felt like, I think as brown folks, we're in the science industry, and I think we've sort of cleared it out with pharmacists and doctors and dentists and all sorts. But I don't see any of us going into the sort of media, and I think that's a bit of a shame. Probably it's also because we have Asian parents who feel like doing medicine and dentistry is the only option.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important that we're also told about the other opportunities that we can go out and achieve. And I think I really wanted to actually do journalism based on having the experience and having the exposure that I had on the show. And I was so fortunate that I was able to go into uni and do something which I saw, which at first it was so hard.
Yeah.
Doing like radio and doing like podcasting and learning about all that sort of element, and I was just like, okay, this is a lot more challenging than I actually thought. And I think, but it's also not nice facing that challenge. So like last night, I had a massive interview. So I'm working as a journalist now, part-time journalist and part-time public speaker, keynote speaker. So it's a bit of a mixed sort of thing I have. But I had a massive interview last night in Derby with Michael Owen.
Oh wow!
And so I was. It wasn't
incredible.
I think it made me think that, like, I'm not a fluent speaker. I openly admit I'm not, and I think everyone there was speaking so fluently, asking questions, and I thought, okay, this is the moment where I live up to all those words or all those talks that I'm so fortunate enough to actually give. Like, this is that moment. I can talk it all. I can sort of waffle as much as I want, but these are the moments I need to make sure I capitalize on this. So I went up to him and I was shaking at first. I was really nervous, just thinking, wow, okay, this is Michael Owen. Like, who can say that? And I'm just really fortunate. I've not sent the photo yet to Mr. Burton, so I don't think he'll be happy. So
was he expecting one straight away? Is that was it?
Yeah, I just had to get a photo with Michael Owen, and I just thought I need to send this to Matthew as soon as. So I was just standing there and asking him a question, and he was quite happy to answer, and he was quite jolly and quite open. And I walked away from that interview, and I just thought, like, I really have shown that you can achieve anything. Like, whoever thought? I never thought I would be standing in a room with him, and I just asked him a couple of questions, and he was he was quite happy and he's
Perfect.
quite open. And I think that, and I know this sounds as if I'm just saying it, but
No.
it comes from the support I had in school.
Yeah.
That teacher made me think that I can do anything, and now I'm crazy enough to believe I can.
No,
So I'll do it.
fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Can you imagine though if you were able to go and see your 16-year-old self and be like, hey, guess what? When you're 25, you're going to be interviewing Michael Owen. I bet you wouldn't have believed it, would you?
No, of course not. I think first thing I'd say, please, let's go have a haircut first, and then after that,
Not going like
I will
this.
explain. Yeah, no, of course not. So, yeah, so
That's
I think
awesome.
it just really does show that you can achieve anything,
Yeah.
and I think this campaign really expresses how we need more people out there who aren't fluent speakers to actually take on those opportunities. And I think I take a massive I take pride in that,
Yeah.
knowing that I'm sort of changing it every single
Yeah, sort
day.
of
I'm
representing,
trying
aren't
to.
you, as well? And yeah, I suppose for people that it's not even just for young people who've got a stammer. I suppose it's for everyone to be able to see it as part of normal day life.
Yeah.
It normalizes, doesn't it? And it becomes less of a big deal for the people who have a stammer. So if we're seeing people on the news, if we're seeing people on podcasts, on TV, everywhere who have got stammers and are okay and are fine and are happy, do you know what I mean? And are living normal lives, then it makes people feel accepted and
Of course, and I think that is the sort of like end goal that I'm trying to reach. Like I'm trying to sort of reach. Like I always get asked, like, what are you achieving in life then?
Yeah.
And I think that it's that end goal where a kid can look up to me or look up and say, I believe I can do what Musharaf is doing based on me, and based on what I've achieved. And I feel like that's sort of like something I'm trying to help people see that, look, if I can, honestly, anyone can. All it takes is just to try as much as you can. And of course, I've had times where I've tried to do an interview with people and they've turned it off on me. It happens.
Yeah.
But I think you have to take that on board, and you just got to try even harder. You just have to work a bit harder. And I think if you work that little bit harder, you can achieve those goals. And I think I'm praying and hoping that kids see that and they look up to me and say that, well, Musharaf went into journalism and he did this and he did that, and I can too.
Yeah.
Like I have a stammer, but I don't care. He did it and I can.
Yeah.
And I really hope that is something that I can take on board, and well, people can sort of take on board. And I think more importantly, sort of the behind the scenes of it all is a teacher made that happen.
Yeah.
That moment where I was interviewing Michael Owen, it came through all them sort of years of struggling where I thought I couldn't achieve anything, and I prayed and I asked, and I just kept on trying to get the support that I did in school. And I think that sort of behind the scenes of it all, of course, it is me going there and doing the interview, but it's mainly that teacher. It's mainly those teachers that made me think that I could.
Yeah.
And I think that is so important.
So important. Yeah, really. So, you're doing journalism. You are a journalist now. You went to university into journalism, and you're doing keynote speaking as well. So you've been doing that in schools, colleges, universities, teacher conferences, etc.
Yeah.
So I imagine people listening will be thinking, "Oh, we need to book him."
Oh, please, yeah, I'd love to. It's honestly, it's an amazing feeling going and just talking about this journey and just trying to. I feel like sometimes teachers forget how much of an impact they have.
Yeah.
And I feel like I try to give them that sort of push and say, well, this is who you are.
Yeah,
This is what you do. And I think once they hear it, they sort of know how important they truly are. And I wish I'd love to. It's such a rewarding feeling. That in itself, apart from journalism, like if you put that to one sort of side, me being that kid who was told that I could never speak fluently again, to now like talking at events and talking in front of schools and at schools, I think it just shows like it all. I know this is now sounding like a broken tape, but
it's not at all. It's brilliant.
It really stems down from having that support,
and
how teachers really have an impact.
Yeah, no, it's great. So you've also got a YouTube channel, which I was when I was researching you, I found, which was quite cool. There's lots of different episodes where you try different things. There's one where you go through the drive-through. Can you tell our listeners about that and what you do? Because I found
Of
that quite
course.
interesting. Because it makes sense now, but it wasn't a problem that I had thought about when I thought about someone with a stammer. I hadn't thought that a drive-through would be problematic, but obviously it is. Can
Yeah.
you explain what the YouTube channel does and what those episodes were about?
Of course, yeah. So I think after the TV show, I was sort of labeled, excuse me, I was sort of labeled as this like motivational person. I had no clue as to what that truly was as a
Yeah.
kid, but I soon came to realize that a lot of people love that show and the clip, and I think that there were so many barriers that I was facing outside of that clip that people had no clue
Yeah.
about. And I thought, well, I want to sort of show that in a way where people can start being a lot more patient, a lot more caring, and have that sort of understanding as to what a stammer truly is. And I think a couple of years ago, I was just at like a drive-through with my friend, and he was driving, and I was in the passenger, and he just said, "Why is it that we're always going to like drive-throughs, or on the occasions that we do go, that I'm always ordering your food?" And I said, "Well, I don't have any money, which is why I'm always in the passenger seat. So you pay, of course." But no, it was just like he just made me. It just made me think. Oh well, that is true. I always tell him my order, and then he'll order it, and then we drive away and we eat excess amount of calories. So I kind of knew that maybe I should give it a go.
Yeah.
And of course, as a kid, I couldn't really do that at the time. I had no car, or I had passed no driving, so it'd be a bit of a dangerous
walk
thing.
to the drive-through as a
Yeah, just
7-year-old.
walk there.
Don't do that.
Yeah,
Nobody listening to
yeah,
that.
yeah. That's it. Or just biking it and just going. So I thought, right, okay, let me give it a go. And I tried it once, and I thought, no, let me try it with like putting a camera on as well.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I don't know how this will turn out, but let's just give it a go. So on the first attempt I did it, it went awful, and I thought, what the hell? Like I've never thought of it being as much of a challenge.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to talk, and I couldn't say a word. And in the end, I sort of got it out. I was able to explain what I sort of wanted, and then I just drove on. And then I thought, okay, let me try it again. So I went to quite a few places,
Yeah.
and then I thought, like, let me sort of head into a supermarket. And I had like a list of words I couldn't say, so cheese, baked beans, and all these sort of things. And I put it in a hat, and I thought, I'm going to take out 5 words or 5 items, and I'm going to say it on camera, go into Tesco, and I'm going to say these words. I'm going to just ask away.
Oh my
And
goodness.
and I gave it a go, and I thought, this is so hard. I
Yeah.
thought, I can't even do this. Like, oh, what is going on? Like, so like simple things in life which I would just make others ask or do, or order on the phone. So ordering on the phone, calling on the phone, ordering food on the phone. So I just thought, why not make a series of videos that sort of highlight how hard it is? And I
Yeah.
think there's quite a few people who have ripped that idea off me, but it's nice though. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. I think
It brings awareness no matter what,
Yeah,
doesn't it? That's your
that's
goal. So
as much as as crazy it is, I think it's more importantly, it's about raising the awareness, which is so important. And I think I really feel like that is more important than anything. It's just about, if we can raise the awareness of what stammer truly is, then it means so much more than anything.
yeah, it makes a lot of people's lives easier, won't it?
It is, and I think that's what I sort of think about every talk I give. It's not about trying to inspire a sort of like a whole high school worth of like 900 to like 1,000 kids.
Wow.
I'm just hoping to get that one kid.
Yeah.
If I can get that one kid or that one child, then I've made it count. That whole journey of driving here has been worth it. It's just about helping that one kid.
Yeah, and there'll be some
taking it from there.
won't there, definitely sat there who it will impact on. And you never know, in a few years' time, they might be on a podcast saying,
yeah, no,
this
that'd be
moment when
amazing.
I was sat there and there was this guy called Mushy, he was talking to us all, and it had that impact on me, and I was able to find my voice. So it will. Or people, just everything, all these little things, like you said, incremental things that are going to make a big difference for somebody, aren't they? Which is absolutely brilliant. Honestly, you're such an inspiration, Mushy. I've really, really enjoyed talking to you. You've brilliant. Is there anything I've missed? Any closing remarks? Where can people find you and that sort of thing? So your website, how can they book you? All of that sort of stuff.
Of course, no, I'd really appreciate that. So I'm available on like social media. So on my Twitter, I'm Musharaf Asghar, which is Musharaf. I've had teachers in the past call me so many sort of different names, which I've like Mushrat or whatever it is. So I just thought I'd make it clear how it's spelled as well.
Yes.
So Musharaf Asghar, Musharaf Asghar, Asghar. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook as well, and I'm on LinkedIn. So feel free to message me. It's not even about getting talks, but if there are anything that I can help with, any students out there that you feel need that help, feel free to ask me. I'm more than happy to like answer any questions. I'm always here just answering questions on emails, and it's nice. It's nice that I'm having an impact and I'm helping some sort of teacher out there having that sort of pushy sort of Mr. Burton moment somewhere across the world. So yeah, feel free to ask me any questions. I'm also on like YouTube as well. It's the same name. I just thought I'd keep it exactly. I just thought, yeah. And then on Instagram as well, Mushy Asghar, Mushy Asghar, and then on YouTube as well.
Brilliant.
It's the same. But yeah, feel free to ask me any questions at all. I'd be more than happy to. If there is the occasion where I can attend a school, a college, a conference, or whatever it is, then it'd be an absolute pleasure.
Brilliant. That's great. I'm sure you're going to get lots of inquiries after this, and we'll make sure to tag you on social media when we share the episode so that people can find you
thank you.
easier on there. I really enjoyed talking to Mushy, and I hope you enjoyed listening. I do think the word inspirational is thrown around too much, but I think in this instance he really is inspirational. Anyway, thanks again for listening to Send in the Experts with me, Georgina Durrant. I do hope you listen in next time and share on social media that you've been listening along and help us spread the word about this podcast.